Thank you all so much for coming today. We're super excited to have everyone here.
On a hot Alice Springs morning, community, police and domestic violence advocates are gathering to open a new meeting place.
This is where our women are walking into a place for help.
It's dedicated to those lost to family and domestic violence.
A mosaic such as this in a place where first contact of domestic violence are the police. The courthouse across the road there where everything is sorted. This is where help begins. This is where change begins.
Since the year 2000, 82 Aboriginal women in the Northern Territory have died from domestic and family violence.
Every single one of those numbers was a real person with hopes and dreams and countless people who loved them. We will not let them be forgotten. All the work we do is in their legacy.
Across the road, a landmark inquiry has been underway. The NT Coroner investigating the domestic violence deaths of 4 Aboriginal women, Kumanjai Haywood, Naga Reger, Miss Yunupingu and Kuman Rabuncha. She was a part of the Tongendira Women's Family Safety Group, the team behind the mosaic.
There you go! Go get some sugar rush.
If Kuman Rabuncha was alive today, she would have helped organise this event.
Rara was my first cousin. I guess she wanted to stop the violence with her own experience. She needed a change within the family and within our town camp as well, especially within her own town camp, the Indepth camp. She wanted to educate family around family and domestic violence.
Kuman Rabuncha was murdered in January 2021 after her partner Malcolm Abbott ran her over repeatedly with his car just metres from the entrance of the Alice Springs Hospital. Malcolm had an extensive history of domestic violence and an earlier conviction for the manslaughter of another woman.
She was let down pretty deeply and poorly. It makes me want to advocate more and also be present for our young ones as well, because I know what it's like growing up without a mum at a young age. It's so hard.
Mary's sister, Naga Reger, is one of the other women.
She was alright, talking to me, she was happy, looking after kids, grandchildren, one boy. She used to work outstation. She used to be a ranger. She was a lovely lady.
40-year-old Naga Reger is remembered as a strong cultural woman who took on the role of mother, mentor and auntie to many of the children in her community. She was also the only woman in her tribe who knew the names of all the sacred sites and totems of her country. That knowledge was lost with her.
And I miss her. Me and my other sister Edna, and the families. We're all missing her.
The inquest, which started in June last year, heard each of the men had a pattern of abusive behaviour. They were all known to police and had previously been jailed for violence. Coroner Elisabeth Armitage also heard all 4 deaths involved systemic failures. For Naga Reger, police had failed to arrest her partner, Garsick Norridge, earlier that day.
What do you see, mate? What do you know?
Oh, I just heard a bang.
Around 5 a.m. on the 23rd of December 2019, police were called to a car on fire in Darwin's inner suburbs.
Is this your car? What's your name?
Garsick Norridge set the blaze and didn't hesitate to tell police what he had done.
Argument with my missus, she ran away from me and I built this car.
That argument was with Naga Reger, and she had run away.
I was getting angry for her and I told her I'm gonna burn the car and I did. I'm sorry, you take me personally. Thanks.
Counsel assisting told the coroner police should have taken him into custody, but they didn't. Instead, he was free to cross paths with Niego later that day. It was captured on CCTV. Garsick was physically abusive to Niego. A fire truck drove past. Later, Garsick was seen pulling Niego across a car park towards the beach. Around 7:30 that evening, Garsick Norridge killed Naga Reger here at Mindil Beach. The coroner was told that witnesses could hear Naga Reger's screams for almost 20 minutes, but no one called the police. Garsick was ultimately jailed for Niego's manslaughter.
Miss Reger was failed by police, in police not taking her perpetrator into custody at the earliest opportunity.
Caitlin Weatherby Fell is a lawyer at the Top End Women's Legal Service. She says it's beyond concerning that the police did not know the criminal code.
If they had done the requisite checks within the IGES system, they would have seen that the perpetrator had a long history of domestic, family and sexual violence against other women as well as Miss Reger.
During the inquest, Senior Constable Brodie Pardon said he could not remember if police ran a background check on Garsick when they attended the car fire. He also admitted that he did not have a full understanding of the law.
Did you give consideration at that time to arresting him in relation to setting fire to the car?
I did not. At that time, I was of the belief it was his vehicle. I was also of the belief that that didn't constitute the offence of arson.
Why was it your belief that it didn't constitute the offence of arson?
I guess a lack of knowledge surrounding the details of that offence.
Caitlin Weatherby Fell says all police who attended the scene need better training to spot warning signs of domestic violence.
We know that arson is a criminal offence, irrespective of whose property or whose items are being set alight. They absolutely missed the signs of domestic violence, and they were amongst some of the biggest red flags that we could see. Property abuse is absolutely a form of domestic violence.
Silence all stand. The Coroner's Court of the Northern Territory is now in session.
Yesterday, inside a packed courtroom, Coroner Elisabeth Armitage handed down her long-awaited findings.
Appallingly, 8 Aboriginal women have died since June this year, and a sister girl has also died. And all of these 9 deaths are allegedly from domestic violence.
The coroner made 35 recommendations, many calling on the Territory Government to increase funding, including for women's shelters and frontline emergency response services. She also recommended a peak body be established to advocate for the sector at a national level.
There is absolutely nothing radical about a peak body for domestic and family violence. In fact, it is only the Northern Territory, which experiences the highest rates of domestic violence in the country, that does not have a peak body. This makes no sense and must change.
Whilst coercive control can happen anywhere, there are particular manifestations within the entity which are highly contextual.
For almost 2 years, experts like Marie Corbo have been developing new face-to-face training for police, and now each new recruit spends 5 full days learning from specialists.
What we're trying to get police to do is start to see the red flags of coercive control so that when they do go out there, they've got a better sense. So we have heard some good stories about police having much greater knowledge about coercive control as a result.
So it's just a great opportunity to, unpack the work that we've been doing so far and what we'll...
DV call-outs make up to 80% of the NT Police's workload. One of the coroner's recommendations was that all new police recruits receive extensive domestic and family violence training. In a statement, police told 7:30 they want this program to continue, but so far, the Territory government has not clarified if it will receive long-term funding.
That will be gut-wrenching for us if these recommendations aren't followed through or aren't taken seriously. Just get on with it and do it. And I know that funding is always an issue, but how much is someone's life?
NT Police initially agreed to be interviewed as part of this story, but then cancelled, stating they had to await the coroner's findings and the government's response before speaking publicly. Chief Minister and Police Minister Leah Finocchiaro also declined to comment. In a press release, a spokesperson said the government will spend $180 million over 5 years responding to domestic and family violence. But for the family and friends of the 4 women, there's a very real fear that the coroner's recommendations won't be enacted in full.
So often it is the people who already do this work every single day in the sector who continue to show up, continue to advocate. We haven't seen leadership. I don't care about national cabinets, I don't care about politicians standing up and going on about things that they've supposedly done. It's not enough. We need a greater response, an urgent response.
And if you need help, you can call the National Sexual Assault and Family Violence Counselling Helpline, 1800-RESPECT on 1800 732 732, or the Crisis Support Line for Indigenous Australians, 13-YARN on 139276.